December 27th, 1942, 0945 hours. The sweltering skies over Buna, Papua New Guinea. Sweat beads on Lieutenant Hiroshi Nakamura's brow as he grips the stick of his Mitsubishi A6M0, the humid Pacific air whipping through the open canopy like a fevered breath. Below, the dense jungle canopy stretches endlessly, a green hell where Allied troops claw at Japanese defenses in the mud and blood of the Bunagona campaign. Nakamura scans the horizon, his squadron weaving tight formation around a flight of Nakajima K-43 Oscars, sleek, nimble Army fighters escorting bombers on a routine strike. The engine's hum vibrates through his bones, a familiar rhythm in this endless war. Then they appear. Silhouettes on the edge of the clouds, twin booms slicing the blue like forked lightning. American planes, but nothing like the stubby P-40 Warhawks they've shredded before. These are oddities. Two fuselages fused by a central nacelle, props spinning in eerie symmetry. Nakamura chuckles into his radio, his voice crackling over the static. Look at that monstrosity. The Yankees must be desperate, sending circus freaks into battle. His wingmen join the mockery, call signs buzzing with derision. Fork-tailed devil? More like a crippled crane. They've heard whispers from intelligence briefs. Lockheed P-38 Lightnings, dismissed by Imperial High Command as ungainly experiments, too heavy to dance with the agile Zero, too bizarre to fear. You can almost feel the arrogance in the cockpit, that ironclad belief in Japanese superiority forged in early victories over Pearl Harbor and Singapore. Nakamura banks slightly, eyeing the approaching formation. 8 P-38s from the 49th Fighter Group, climbing fast from Dobodura Airfield. Their Allison V-1710 engines roaring a challenge. But to him, they're just targets. Easy pickings for the Zero's legendary turn radius and 20mm cannons. The distance closes, 5,000 yards, 3,000. Nakamura's thumb hovers over the firing button, heart steady. He's claimed 3 kills already this month, each one a testament to the Emperor's divine wind. Engage at will, comes the order from Captain Taro Ikeda, leading the Oscars. The Japanese formation tightens, bombers dipping lower to unload on Allied positions, while fighters peel off to intercept. But something's wrong. The P-38s don't lumber like expected. They surge forward, closing the gap with blistering speed, over 400 miles per hour in level flight, outpacing the Zero's top end. Nakamura blinks, confusion flickering. What sorcery is this? He rolls into a tight loop, aiming to outmaneuver, but the lead Lightning, piloted by a young lieutenant from Wisconsin, Richard Ira Bong, doesn't follow the script. Bong, fresh from stateside training, feels the adrenaline surge. His gloved hands steady on the yoke, the P-38's concentrated nose armament, 4.5 caliber machine guns, and a 20mm Hispano cannon locked on target. He's not here for games. Spotting the Zero banking hard, he throttles up, using the Lightning's boom and zoom tactics. Dive in fast, strike, climb away. No dogged turns, no prolonged dances. Just lethal efficiency. The air erupts. Tracers streak like angry hornets. Nakamura fires first, his cannons barking, but the shots go wide as Bong's P-38 flashes past in a blur. Bong pulls up, inverting in a half roll, engine screaming. He lines up on an Oscar below, squeezing the trigger. The concentrated firepower rips through the K-43's thin skin. Flames blooming from the engine cowling. The Oscar spirals down, pilot ejecting in a desperate parachute bloom against the jungle. Nakamura wheels around, rage replacing laughter. Impossible. He dives on Bong's tail, Zero's agility shining as he closes for the kill. But Bong's wingman covers. A burst from another P-38, forcing Nakamura to evade. In the chaos, Bong spots his second mark, a Zero climbing for altitude. He pursues, the Lightning's twin Allisons propelling him upward like a rocket. At 15,000 feet, he unleashes hell. The Zero shutters, wings shearing off in a spray of debris, plummeting toward the emerald canopy below. 2 kills in minutes. Bong's radio crackles with excitement from his squadron. Scratch 2 for Dick. But Nakamura, evading wildly, glimpses the carnage. 3 Japanese planes down already, the bombers scattering under fire. His mockery turns to grit-teethed fury. How could this awkward beast dominate so swiftly? The P-38's heavy armament shreds at range. Its speed denies the close-in knife fight the Zero craves.
Below, Allied ground troops, dug in with the 32nd Infantry Division, peer up through the foliage, cheers rising as flaming wrecks streak the sky. The air war, once a Japanese domain, feels the first tremors of shift. Nakamura pulls away, squadron in disarray, heading for the safety of Leh airfield. But as he glances back, the fork-tailed silhouettes haunt him. What if this wasn't a fluke? The battle over Buna fades into the haze, but the seed of doubt is planted. Japanese pilots, once invincible, whisper in debriefs. Generals in Tokyo pore over reports, their initial dismissal cracking. Little do they know, this is just the beginning. Richard Bong, the quiet farm boy turned aerial predator, has tasted victory and he's hungry for more.
April 18, 1943. Dawn Patrol. 22,000 feet above the Bismarck Sea. Richard Ira Bong, 22 years old, eyes bloodshot from another sleepless night in a canvas tent at Dabadura, rolls the P-38 out of a gentle turn and peers through the scratched windshield. The rising sun paints the twin booms gold, turns the central nacelle into a blazing torch. He's alone today, just him and Marge, the name he's painted under the cockpit in flowing red script after the girl waiting back in Poplar, Wisconsin. Below, the sea is a sheet of hammered copper. Somewhere down there, a Japanese convoy crawls toward Laue with reinforcements. Bong's orders are simple. Find it, hurt it, survive. He pushes the throttles forward. The twin Allisons answer with a deep, hungry growl that vibrates straight through his chest. 390, 410, 430 miles per hour. The lightning leaps like it's eager to bite. He spots them first, 4 Betty bombers in loose Vic, escorted by 8 Zeros weaving lazy figure eights at 18,000 feet. Perfect. The Japanese haven't seen him yet. The P-38 is still a rumor to most of them, a weird silhouette in grainy reconnaissance photos dismissed by intelligence officers in Rabaul with a contemptuous laugh. Bong eases the nose down. The airframe shudders as he crosses 450, then 480 miles per hour in the dive. Wind screams across the canopies. At 2,000 yards he levels, arms the guns, and the world narrows to a single Zero crossing his gun sight. He doesn't speak. No radio chatter, no bravado, just a gentle squeeze. The 4 Browning 50 calibers and the single 20mm roar as one. A cone of tracers converges on the Zero's fuselage. Aluminum peels away like orange rind. The canopy shatters, the pilot slumps forward, and the fighter flips into an uncontrollable spin trailing black smoke and burning fuel. 1 second, maybe 2, from dive to kill. Bong is already climbing, turbo superchargers howling, leaving the stunned escort behind. The remaining Zeros react late. Their leader, Warrant Officer Masuaki Iida, a veteran of China and the Philippines, jerks his stick and screams into the radio, "It's the twin boom demon again! Do not turn with it! Boom and zoom!" But the warning comes too late. Bong has already rolled inverted, dropped on Iida's wingman from 12 o'clock high. Another murderous burst. Another Zero disintegrating into the sea. You can picture Iida's knuckles whitening on the stick, the taste of iron in his mouth. These Americans aren't supposed to fight like this. They're supposed to be clumsy, predictable, easy meat for the superior training of Bushido. Yet here is one man, in one strange aircraft, dismantling an entire escort in under 90 seconds. On the ground at Laue, Japanese ground crews hear the distant thunder rolling across the water. They look up and see 4 parachutes blooming like white flowers against the dawn. Then nothing. The Bettys, suddenly naked, jettison their bombs and flee for cloud cover. Bong lets them go. He's out of ammunition after just 4 passes, but the convoy scatters anyway, ships zigzagging in panic beneath him. Back at Dabadura, Bong lands with empty belts and a grin he can't suppress. Mechanics swarm the plane, counting the fresh victory markings already stenciled beneath the cockpit. 5 tiny rising sun flags. In a single sortie, he has matched the best Japanese aces. Word races up the chain. Tokyo Rose herself will soon call him the terror of the Southwest Pacific. But right now, in the humid shade of a palm tree, he just lights a cigarette and stares at the photo of Marge taped to his instrument panel. Across the sea, in a dimly lit operations room in Rabaul, Vice Admiral Junichi Kusaka slams a report onto the table. The laughter has stopped. Intelligence officers who once mocked the fork-tailed oddity now speak in hushed, urgent tones. Kill ratios are inverting. Pilots who once begged for combat now request transfers to quieter sectors. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a quiet farm boy from Wisconsin is stacking confirmed victories faster than anyone in theater, Allied or Japanese. The P-38 is no longer a joke. It is a prophecy.
June 16, 1944, 0710 hours, 28,000 feet above the Halmahera Sea, approaching the Japanese fleet anchorage at Wasili Bay. Captain Thomas B. McGuire, hair still damp from a bucket shower at Mockmer Airstrip on Biak, leads 16 P-38s of the 475th Fighter Group in a perfect line-abreast sweep. The twin booms glint like spears of white fire in the morning sun. Below them, the Imperial Japanese Navy has massed one of its last intact carrier air groups. Over 70 fighters, Val dive bombers, and Kate torpedo planes rising from the decks of Zuikaku and Taiho to intercept the growing American threat in the Marianas. Japanese pilots spot the incoming lightnings and react with the confidence of men who still believe the war is winnable. Lieutenant Commander Saburo Sakai, now flying from a land base after losing an eye over Guadalcanal, takes the lead. His voice is calm, almost amused over the radio. Yankee twins again, same old clumsy cranes. We will cut their wings and send them into the sea. They climb to meet the Americans head-on, 60-plus Zeros and Oscars forming a classic defensive wheel at 22,000 feet. Perfect for the turning fight they know they will win. They never get the chance. McGuire doesn't even bother with radio chatter. He simply rolls the entire formation into a shallow dive, accelerating to 440 miles per hour, then splits his 16 planes into 4 ship elements that slash straight through the Japanese wheel like hot knives through rice paper. No turns, no hesitation, just disciplined, rehearsed, murderous passes. The first Lightning flight, led by McGuire himself, drops on Sakai's own division from 12 o'clock high. Tracers converge on a Zero flown by Petty Officer First Class Tetsuzo Iwamoto, one of Japan's top remaining aces with over 80 kills. Iwamoto jerks into a break, but the P-38's guns are already speaking. The Zero's left wing folds like wet cardboard. Iwamoto never has time to transmit a warning. He simply falls away, trailing fire and the stunned silence of his comrades. In 30 seconds, the Japanese wheel disintegrates into chaos. Pilots who once boasted they could outturn anything now find themselves bleeding speed in frantic brakes while the Lightnings climb untouched for another pass. The forked-tailed devils are everywhere at once, above, behind, streaking past at speeds no Zero can match. You can almost hear the panic rising in the Japanese cockpits. Canopies fog with frantic breath. Gunners in the Kates scream warnings that never come fast enough. One pilot, Ensign Kaneyoshi Muto, destined to become a late-war ace, watches his squadron leader explode in mid-air and feels something cold crawl up his spine. This is not combat as he was taught. This is extermination. On the carrier Zuikaku far below, Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa stares at the radar repeater in disbelief. Returns that were once a solid wall of friendly aircraft are winking out, one after another. His chief of staff whispers the impossible. The Americans are destroying our air cover in minutes. By the time McGuire's P-38s break off to return to Biak, fuel and ammunition exhausted, the scoreboard is brutal. 43 Japanese aircraft confirmed destroyed, 19 probables, and not a single Lightning lost. McGuire alone claims 5, tying him with Bong at the top of the Pacific ace list. Back on Biak, ground crews count the bullet holes, almost none. The P-38s came, struck, and vanished like avenging ghosts. That evening, in a candlelit bunker on Halmahera, Saburo Sakai sits silently while a young pilot weeps uncontrollably. The laughter that once greeted grainy photos of the awkward twin-boom fighter is gone forever. In its place is a new nickname, spoken now with dread rather than mockery. Yamamoto no Akuma, the devil of Yamamoto, because every time those forked tails appear, another piece of the Empire's sky falls away. And somewhere far to the east, over the vast and darkening Pacific, the forked-tailed devil is still climbing, still hunting, still turning arrogant certainty into screaming metal and burning fuel. The reversal is complete.
November 1, 1944, 13:45 hours. 12,000 feet above Ormoc Bay, Leyte, Philippine Islands. The sky is a blinding sheet of white cloud below, the sun a molten coin above. Major Richard Ira Bong, now wearing the silver eagles of a 24-year-old major, eases his P-38J, serial number 42103-993, into a gentle orbit. He is alone again, just him. Marge's portrait smiling from the cockpit wall, and the faint smell of coconut oil from the last Island Liberty still clinging to his flight suit. Below the cloud deck, the Japanese are trying one last desperate throw. Operation Ta, a convoy of 6 transports and 8 destroyers crammed with 10,000 fresh troops meant to claw Leyte back from MacArthur's grip. Above them, 40 Zeros and Oscars from the finest remaining Army and Navy air units in the Philippines rise to protect their charges. Bong drops through the cloud layer like a stone through milk. He emerges into clear air at 8,000 feet, doing 420 miles per hour, the twin booms leaving vapor ribbons that look almost gentle until you realize they're the wake of a shark. The Japanese see him immediately. Radio calls explode across the frequency. "It's Bong! The devil himself! Do not engage alone!" But it is already too late. He picks a climbing Zero first, a Navy pilot trying to gain altitude for advantage. Bong simply rolls inverted, pulls the nose through, and fires a 2-second burst from 300 yards. The Zero never finishes its climb. It stalls, flips, and falls in 2 flaming halves toward the emerald water of Ormoc Bay. Bong climbs back into the sun, untouched. The Japanese formation scatters like startled birds, discipline gone. Some dive for the deck, some climb frantically, others freeze in fatal indecision. He finds his second victim trying to hide among the transports, a lone Oscar skimming the wave tops. Bong dives vertically, engines throttled back to keep the speed under 500 miles per hour so the controls don't lock. At 1,000 feet, he levels, fires once. The Oscar flies straight into the sea and disappears without a splash. Third kill, a Zero that makes the mistake of turning with him. Bong refuses the turn, extends, climbs, then drops back in from dead astern. One burst, one fireball. Fourth, a desperate head-on pass against a veteran who actually manages to put a 20mm round through Bong's windshield. The glass spiderwebs inches from his face, but Bong never flinches. He walks his tracers up the Zero's belly and watches the pilot bail out, parachute opening just in time to drape itself across the burning wreckage of his own plane. By the time Bong's guns click empty, 4 more rising sun flags will be painted beneath his cockpit. 40, confirmed now. More than any American in history. More than any man alive in this war. Below, the convoy is already doomed. Without air cover, the transports are sitting ducks for the Hellcats and Corsairs now screaming in from the escort carriers. One by one, the ships die under bombs and torpedoes, taking their reinforcements to the bottom. Bong circles once, low and slow, almost leisurely. He looks down at the burning ships, the floating bodies, the parachutes drifting like jellyfish. There is no triumph in his face, only a quiet, terrible weariness. He keys the mic once, voice soft. Splash 4, heading home. Back at Tacloban airstrip, the ground crew waits with the usual ritual: cold Coca-Cola, a cigarette, and fresh paint for the new flags. Reporters swarm, but Bong waves them off. He just wants to sit on the wing, stare at the horizon, and think about Wisconsin snow. That night, in Manila, Admiral Suemo Toyota receives the final tally. The last coherent fighter screen in the Philippines has been gutted. The convoy is annihilated. Leyte is lost for good.
In Tokyo, the Imperial General Headquarters issues a single terse order to all remaining air units in the Philippines. Do not engage the twin-boom fighter under any circumstances. If sighted, disengage immediately. The laughter is a distant memory now. The mockery has turned to myth, and the myth has turned to terror. The fork-tailed devil has become the final signature on the death warrant of Japanese air power in the Pacific. And somewhere above the darkening sea, a quiet man from Poplar, Wisconsin, cleans the guns of his P-38 one last time, knowing the war will soon be over, and that when it ends, he will never again feel quite so alive.